Howdy guys, it's Joe here, and our first really big tournament using, the Season 3 heroes and the Season 3 changes just barely come out, and that of course was DreamHack. And today I kind of want to talk to you guys about what ended up happening in DreamHack, and mainly about what heroes really ended up being quite good. Now I haven't done much of videos like this in the past, so if you do want to see any more, please do leave a like and tell me what you do want to see in the future with this, and also tell me what you were really expecting from this meta, and if this meta did show up quite like you were really hoping for Season 3. Now, as always, this is esports, this is top of the line, this is, what characters are good when everyone's as good as they can possibly be, so it might not apply 100%, but in general, this can tell you who feels a little bit stronger in the meta right now, and who is just a tiny bit weaker in the meta right now. Of course, always take it with a grain of salt, always play who you want to play, and always try to continue to get good at who you're already good at, but if you want some information about who to maybe try out, who to maybe try to pick in the new meta, or if you just don't know who to play at all, then here's a bit of a meta. Anyways, let's go on to that, after that disclaimer. So the first person, the person that we saw most often, was still Lucio, and still by a ton. Now, of course, in our last tier list, we actually saw a decent amount of Ana, but in this tier list, we saw a heck of a ton of Lucio, or I guess in this play at DreamHack. There was like Lucio almost every single game. His overall usage was much beyond anyone else, and while last patch I think Ana got close to or even surpassed Lucio, this patch she fell quite a bit further down, which is kind of annoying, as it means, more Lucio, less diversity even than there already was in the support package, and that continues down the line when you go a little bit later on also. But yeah, that was kind of weird to see. As far as the next thing that we also did see, or I guess not weird, but kind of something that I wasn't hoping for. As far as the next person, we got Reinhardt, and of course Reinhardt always had a giant play rate. He's pretty much like Lucio, but for tank. And yeah, he was played the majority of the time. He was played on all three maps, King of the Hill, defense, and offense, almost all the time. There was almost always a Reinhardt. Even with the nerf to, Ana, to her ultimate, he was still very good, still very strong, and if you want to play him, still would definitely recommend it. He really just did a bunch of work, and he just does so much as a character. Like, he tanks, he does a lot of damage, and he has a crowd control ult that's really hard to counter by most characters. So yeah, pretty good. As far as the person after that, we do have the other support, which is Ana. Now, while she isn't quite as high as she was, when she was quite next to Lucio, she's still doing pretty well. We still saw quite a bit amount of Ana play, and about 75% of the games, we still saw Ana. Of course, that was mainly in King of the Hill. In the other maps, it was closer to 60. Still, that is pretty good. Seeing that much Ana play is still really nice. It means that at least we have some other supports, but yeah, mainly we just saw a lot of Lucio and a lot of Ana. From there, we're going more into the tank meta. Of course, a lot of tanks got buffed and some tanks got nerfed. The tank that got buffed the most, and that probably a lot of you guys are really happy for, is Deva. Of course, some people dislike Deva, but I feel like Deva really does have a big fan base, and they're really going to be happy, as Deva is the 4th most played character in the OGN Apex semifinals at DreamHack, which was really insane. She could do a lot of work, she got in, she dealt a lot of damage, and as well, mixtured with Soldier, she could actually kind of counter Reinhardt. Now, of course, we still saw a ton of Reinhardt, and she works super well with Reinhardt, being able to do damage while Ryan can hold up that shield, and they can just kind of switch off. But yeah, we did see a lot of her, and she was doing very good. The extra health, the extra movement, all the extra stuff that they did to Deva did seem to really help, and now she's in a place where I don't feel like she's extremely overpowered, but she's very good and very usable. So that's really a kind of cool thing to see. Finally, a tank that's normally been bad for months upon months, that's finally good. So yeah, pick up Deva if you want to. She's really quite fun. She's kind of like Reinhardt, but a bit more offensive, and she works really well in this meta. From there, we do have Roadhog, and Roadhog has about, like a 60-ish%, 50-ish% win rate, not win rate, play rate, at least in OGN, and that's kind of cool. We do see a lot more Roadhog here than we saw in the past. I don't really know exactly why. I guess it's because he does decent against Deva, and also because mainly Zarya got nerfed quite a bit in the last patch. Some people were saying that it was a buff, but as far as stats go, and stats seem to show us, she did get nerfed a little bit more than she got buffed. But yeah, it does seem like he's getting a little bit more play rate, and of course, he's always been decent against Reinhardt, he's always been decent against Deva, and always been decent against Winston, so I'd say he's just going to continue where he is right now. And of course, as always, if you want to play a hero that wants to pick people off and kill the enemy team, he's really an amazing pick. As far as the other person that a lot of people were expecting, we saw a ton of Soldier 76. This is the first offense hero on this list, and really the only offense hero for a few spots, and especially the only offense hero that's like a general offense hero, like not a flanker, which was really weird. There's no one really next to him. But yeah, he was the offense hero of choice, and he was actually played more on defense than he was played on offense. About like a 70% play rate on a defense, while closer to like a 45% play rate on offense, and somewhere around their overall usage. Yeah, he was played a decent amount of times though. And yeah, I'd say overall he was probably the most played offense hero, or he wasn't even probably, he definitely was the most played offense hero. He's extremely strong, does a ton of damage, counters the tanks that are in the meta right now. except for Deva. She does pretty well versus him. And overall, just his damage boost was really showing. And yeah, it did butt down McCree a ton. McCree's way down there. Reaper's way down there. A lot of the other characters are quite down there, as it's kind of awkward to balance the offense heroes in general in this game. And I don't know how this is going to work out. Maybe they'll come up later. Maybe they'll get a few buffs, which I do hope for. Or maybe Soldier gets a small nerf. But yeah, he's doing really well, and I'm a player that loves Soldier, so that's pretty nice to me. And if you like Soldier, definitely recommend him. From there, we do have Sunyata. Let me speed this up a bit. We do have Sunyata, who also is doing decently well. He's been played about an average amount. He has about a 25% play rate, so pretty much whenever people weren't picking up the Ana, they were picking up Sunyata. That's essentially how it worked out. And they were playing Sunyata a little bit more on offense, while Ana was played a little bit more on defense in King of the Hill. So that's kind of how this worked out. Overall, Sunyata does do very well on offense, at least in this meta. He can, output a lot of damage. And as well with Deva doing all this damage and Roadhog doing all this damage, it's a pretty nice mix. That's what I'd really say with this meta. To the next person, we have Zarya, who has below a 25% play rate on offense and defense, and then about a 60% play rate on King of the Hill, which is pretty decent. But yeah, she went way down. She was like the 4th or 5th most played hero in the last patch before she got nerfed. Then when she got nerfed, or I guess changed, a lot of people like to call it, she's moved down quite a bit. She still is probably like one of the gods of King of the Hill. You probably do want to play her on King of the Hill. She's really good there. Her ultimate's still very strong. She can still carry, but it has been shown that she's not quite as powerful. Her countering E and shift just aren't quite as good, and mainly the fact that she doesn't get nearly as much charge, that really does hurt her quite a bit. As far as the next person, we also do have Tracer. She's an offense hero. Everyone from here down, by the way, is played below 25% of the time, so it's really getting to a small amount of play rate. But yeah, overall to Tracer, she got, close to a 20% play rate, and she was pretty much the only other person that we really saw way too much as far as offense heroes. You saw a lot of Tracer, and you saw a lot of Soldier 76, a lot more Soldier than Tracer. Yeah, those were the main heroes. She could still gank around. She could still do very good, and she's just been doing what Tracer always does. And she hasn't gotten a buff or nerf in a while, but if you like to play her, I'd say she's always a pretty good pick. Then we have Winston. Winston, while he is a pretty good hero, the other tanks are just so much better. So as far as tanks go, he's just kind of at the bottom. Sometimes he can go in, and sometimes he can go in with the next character, which is Genji. But both of them really do have a bit of a problem. Yeah, as far as Genji as well, he's doing very well on King of the Hill. He's doing decently well on offense, below 25%, but very close. But he's not really the best, as a lot of the tanks that are in the meta right now kind of counter him, and it's just a little bit hard to play Genji, especially against Soldier 76. From there, we do have Mei, and Mei actually got a very high increased play rate. I think actually close to last patch, but from the patch before that. A while ago, you barely saw any Mei. She was barely ever played, but now we're seeing a lot of Mei. Of course, she can wall people off, she can block a lot of damage, and she can just kind of split the tanks from the offense, or the tanks from the support. She does a lot of really nice utility, and we can see that right here. And this was something I was not really expecting. McCree, while he is pretty much just a downgraded soldier right now, I thought he'd still be played quite a bit, but it seems as if the meta right now is just kind of saying, up with soldier, down with McCree, and that really depends if you like that or not. Do you like soldier or McCree better? That's really up to you. They are very similar heroes. They do a similar job, and it's just right here, right now, it's pushing McCree quite a bit down, and I don't really know how they could fix this, as I always say, but yeah, we have that. From there, we do have Widowmaker, actually, right underneath McCree, and I guess comparatively to where she was in the last patch, where she was literally at the bottom of the tier list, at the bottom of the play rate list, really all over the place, she's moved up quite a bit. Like, she's like the 10th lowest now, so she's really not like doing the best. She wasn't played way too much, but there were some really nice situations where you could get really nice peeking points, stop the enemy from coming across. She is decently playable, and you can try it out if you want to. Of course, the buffs did help her quite a bit and moved her up quite a bit. And of course, these are all kind of like offense characters. They're all really right next to each other, actually. It's kind of weird. But yeah, the person after Widowmaker is going to be Sombra. I feel like with Sombra, right now we just don't really know how to play her. Some people were playing her decently well. It was kind of hard, even with having team communication. Her ultimate did have a bit of problems. Of course, trying to get behind the enemy team, a lot of the times they just immediately turn, immediately kill you, and it was a little bit hard from there. And of course, you can't really assassinate people that fast, so quite a few times we saw her trying to go for some kills, and then she'd just get killed by the person trying, that she's trying to kill. So it seems like she does feel kind of weak in a few situations. She still is decently playable. I feel like we really just need to learn how to play the character, to be honest. She hasn't really been out way too long, but if you want to try to learn her, she's really there, and she's doing at least okay. For the final offense person near about 5%, it's going to be Reaper. Now, Reaper a little bit ago has actually played quite a bit. He had a really high play rate, actually, and he was placed about, like 50-60% play rate. mainly just because, you know, the spin to win Beyblade with Ana, the speed boost, it was just so great. Now, while we don't see him as often anymore, and while he's really not quite as strong, just because that thing was so freaking strong, we still did see him actually a decent amount. We saw some, like, you know, abstracted Beyblade, where you'd have Ana and then a Lucio that speeds him in. And the Beyblade still does work decently. Of course, as a character in general, he still does a lot of damage. Versus all the tanks, he still does pretty good right there. Of course, just beating out tanks, and that's about it with Reaper. Beyblade's okay, but not quite as good as it was. And here are the final group of people. I'm not even sure what percent they are. They're a very small percent. And first off, we have Hanzo. Hanzo, we saw pretty much exactly 0 games on defense, but we actually saw a decent amount of games of Hanzo on offense. Like, close to 10% games of Hanzo on offense, which was kind of cool. And yeah, it does confirm the theory that I had, that Hanzo is much better on offense than he is on defense, because picks on offense mean a lot more than picks on defense. So yeah, that's how Hanzo's going on. Now to Pharah, she also does have a lot of play rate on offense, or at least compared, you know, to everything else. She has about a 5% play rate on offense, which is decent, I guess. We really didn't see her way too much. She's still getting countered a lot by soldiers, still getting countered a lot by Widow, by McCree, and her bust really didn't help her way too much, so still been a problem right there. Below her, we have Junkrat. They're right next to each other. As always, Junkrat's just really kind of hard to play in, you know, esports. I feel like he's a lot better when you're playing in, like, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, but in esports, I don't think we're ever going to see him much. And as well with the next character, we also have Torb. I don't think we're ever going to really see him much in esports either. He's just too easy to counter in esports if you just put yourselves together. And that's really just with all these characters at the end. So yeah, we're probably not going to see him there, but if you want to try him out in your solo queue games, that's completely up to you. Even with his buffs, though, he didn't really go up at all. We also do have pre-patch Symmetra with 0% play rate. Of course, this was before her patch, before her update, so I don't know where she'd be right now. You can, of course, try her out. But as far as before the rework, really, we didn't see her much, and we haven't seen her much that often, really, at all. And finally, we have Bastion, which, at least in esports, got a 0% play rate. Feels bad, Bastion. Yeah, of course, he's still pretty playable in certain situations. If you're playing in your ranked games, if you have a Zarya, or you just have like 3 tanks protecting him, it's a pretty funny strategy. You can get on the cart, you can get the first point pretty easily like that. But as far as, again, you know, completely competitive, he does seem to be not in the best spot. And yeah, Blizzard still hasn't really buffed him at all, and I'm feeling like they can't buff him, as if they do, people are just going to complain and say they're just way too overpowered at lower levels, and higher levels are still going to not use him. So I don't know what they could do. I guess just leave him as he is. He's decent as well, if you are playing in the lower levels. But as far as esports, I don't think we're really going to see him. And then the final character on the list, I guess all these 3 people had 0% play rates, but the final one actually ended up being Mercy. And I was not expecting this at all. Mercy got a really big buff so that she started regenerating a lot faster, but I guess with having Deva and Roadhog and Soldier and Sunyata and Ana in the meta, which can all kill her pretty easily, I guess that is kind of a reason why she's not really played way too much. Of course, the res is very strong. If you can get the res off, it's really, really nice. But yeah, she just ended up never being played in DreamHack. Yeah, it's kind of surprising, honestly, to myself, and it's kind of a little bit depressing, as I really do like a support meta that's very diverse. But, you know, Mercy does seem to be in that position where she's still really not way too well. She just has a few core problems that I don't know exactly how to fix. And yeah, if you want to play her, you still definitely can. I feel like she's still going to do quite a bit good in, you know, the lower levels. Just hide around corners, get a 5-man revive, and you can really save your team. But as far in these levels, she just doesn't really seem to cut it, which is kind of sad. I love to watch Mercy play, but I guess we're just not going to be really getting any of that, at least for a while in esports. But anyways, there you go. There's the list. That's how many times people were played, or at least the percentage of the times that they were played. And I do feel like it's kind of good. It's a little bit weird of a meta, and I feel like a lot of people are, you know, choosing the exact same hero over and over and over again. And of course, quite a few heroes, as always, still really aren't way too playable. I don't know how long we're gonna have to wait until, you know, like, everyone's playable, but if you did want to know who's good right now, these are the heroes to pick up, or these are the heroes to look at and to try to counter. As, you know, you could maybe pick a main that's not played way too much, but that quite well counters some of the top level heroes, and at least counters them in your solo queue games. That could also be a really good strategy. So if you have any ideas for that, of course, you can definitely try that out. Anyways, I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. Of course, comment down below if you did enjoy, or if you have any of your own ideas about this, you know, meta that's going on right now, or at least, you know, the esports meta. And as always, though, guys, have a wonderful day.